Hi, I'm Shay Langley, and you're listening to A Shark's Perspective.
Welcome back, and thank you for joining A Shark's Perspective. I'm Kenneth Kinney, but friends call me Shark. I am a keynote speaker, a strategist, a shark diver, host of this show, and your chief shark officer. It's very often that when we talk about business strategies and tactics, to me, I often hear people talking at a very academic level where it's more theoretical from a beginning point rather than being pragmatically where most businesses are, not just at the start or even at the end, but somewhere in the middle. The same is true with search engine optimization. You or your company have a website. It's been up for some time, and now it's time to change your SEO strategy. And that often involves switching your SEO person or agency or vendors or even philosophy. And with so many technologies advancing this so quickly, switching these SEO strategies and strategists can have a major impact that can make or break your traffic and your business. So in regards to SEO, when you're making that switch, what direction do you go? Shay Langley is the founder of RankLift, and she's a full-stack digital marketer experienced in helping brands, both big and small, utilize their website to grow their business. And on this episode, we will discuss switching search engine optimization strategies, teams, vendors, agencies, the to-dos and the to-don'ts with SEO, correcting recipe with website redesigns, going left or right with your SEO content strategy and business goals, how not all digital marketers are created equal, owning your own assets and properties, CMSs, ChatGPT, SEO dad jokes, Squarespace, WordPress, and Wix, things to do with friends when in Virginia, grandma's job at Cracker Barrel, and a lot more. So let's tune in to a full stack developer with a full stack shark on this episode of A Shark's Perspective. Shay, welcome to A Shark's Perspective. Tell us, if you will, a little bit about your career and your background to date.
Sure. So my career right now mainly is focused on engine optimization and web design development for my clients. But my background is really in various types of marketing. So, I've worked in an ad agency, I've worked for an IT company. I've worked for a print shop when, that was popping. Now it's not. Everyone has Canva, so you don't need that
Yeah.
anymore. But yeah, it really just runs the gamut of everything digital marketing. But my love right now is SEO.
So you consider yourself a full stack developer. What do you typically run into with the clients you service? What kind of engagements?
Yeah, so often it is clients who are looking to redesign their website. That's my sweet spot right now. Not as many clients that are, just getting started and just need, a website to get them over. Usually they're going to go to Squarespace or Wix to get started. But often it's businesses or nonprofits that are, you know, looking for ways to grow their business, specifically maybe looking to earn more organic traffic to their website. Some clients I work with, they are solely SEO clients. So maybe they already have a sound web presence and, their website is doing well, but they're looking to push the needle a bit with SEO.
So that's a perfect setup to today's topic. We're going to talk about switching.
Yeah.
No idea what maybe think about that, but I've had a lot of conversations with people lately. I mean, where we met, we were talking about some redesigning websites where I got to see you speak at the National Speaker Association's Winter Workshop, Thrive. But it's so often that we have this kind of conversation with SEO, or when we look at businesses as if they're starting from scratch or they're startups per se. But it seems like we're always at the starting point in this conversation.
Mhm.
Even when they're in the infancy, though, they may be 3 laps around the track and
Right.
closing in on the 4th,
Yeah.
to get that first mile, but they already have a website and some gray hairs of wisdom, if you will, in their business or their web presence. Maybe not gray hairs, maybe they're losing some hair, but let's talk about switching. Let's say you have a current website
Yeah.
and you want to redesign it. From an
Mhm.
SEO standpoint, where do you start with your own checklist of the to-dos and the to-don'ts?
Okay. So I first of all, I love this big, and even the fact that you brought it up, because I think what you said is, of course, true, where we think that everyone's starting from, zero, but they're not. With a redesign
They're generally
specifically.
starting from a complete mess that they have to fix.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Or one that they don't know they need to fix.
Yeah. Well, it's like a recipe. No, in our world, you're not starting with a recipe to create a pie or a cake or whatever. It's to
Mhm.
repair something that looks and tastes like a tire.
Yes, yes, that's true. So with a redesign, where I like to start is looking at the current website and how it's performing. Because if it does have facets of it that are performing well, we don't want to mess that up. We want to either improve on it or at least at level. And when I say that, I'm specifically talking about sometimes the individual page performance. If there are blog posts that are doing well and bringing you in big, we don't want to mess with that too much. We don't want to shake it up more than it needs to be. So we start there. And then we start to consider, what does this redesign entail? Is it a complete overhaul? Like, is your messaging changing? Are your services changing? Because then we have to consider how we're going to optimize the new content and then how that works with, like I said, the old content that we still want it to perform well. So those are the two entry points that I usually start with a client, because that gives us a good baseline. And then from that baseline, we can determine steps for launching the new site.
So when they start thinking through that, then how do they determine go left or go right? I guess really, I mean, I get that you wouldn't want to change it, but let's say you do need to change it
Right. Yeah.
when it does require something that's beyond just moving the colors here and pieces up and down. But
Yeah.
when you know you have to take action, what's the
Mhm.
kind of action you typically look at starting to take?
Right. So we'll look at new content and which pages we want to have on the new site, even down to URL structure. So how we want the content and the information architecture on the website to function so that really that's for your user to make sure that they can actually navigate your site when they get there, but it's also useful for search engines to understand the content on your website, like how you actually have it organized. I like to tell people it goes back to, being in elementary, middle school. That teacher doesn't want your paper without an outline. Like, they want to know how you're structuring your content so that they can understand before they really dig into it, what's going on. So it's the same thing, with a new website. Something else though that is really important when I'm talking with clients, when we're trying to figure out the content strategy for the redesign, is actually looking at their overall business goals. That's really what is driving the website. Like, the website should be working for you and working for business to help you meet and reach those, hopefully surpass those business goals. So when we're redesigning the website and also considering the content, the performance indicators, do you need more calls? Do you need more contact forms submitted? All of that information, we need to tie it back to those business goals. And that'll really help guide what content or what changes we need to make for the redesign.
Sure. Well, let's talk then about switching companies because now we know that we're going to do this and you're coming into, I'm going to call it a mature situation, something that's not
Okay.
just from scratch, but if you're coming in as a vendor or as a consultant, might be
Mhm.
that you're not the first person that worked on the website. Odds are they either had an IT person, an office manager, or an
Mhm.
SEO person that was doing this stuff. So when you consider switching SEO vendors and
Yeah.
consultants, how do you position that conversation with somebody? Because that is a big step. A lot of times can be a real change in philosophy. It's not just an exact ones and zeros science. There's an art to it.
Yeah. I think the first thing we should discuss though, which you've probably encountered yourself, is sometimes business or even entrepreneurs will assume that the person they hire to design or develop a website for them understands everything about digital marketing, whereas they may
Absolutely.
not have
Yeah.
any expertise in SEO. Like, they may just be giving you a website and they have no idea, about the information architecture that we just talked about, or how it should perform, or how to give you access to analytics so you can see how the website performs. So I think that's number one. Like if you are going to engage someone that is saying they are a digital marketer and they have expertise in certain areas. I'm not saying every person you hire needs to have that spread of expertise, but you do need to understand that if your web developer does not have SEO expertise, you may want to consider finding someone that does, especially for a redesign. Because first of all, when you're switching to do a redesign, you could lose all your traffic. Like that is the threat to redesigning your website without someone who's how to make sure it continues to stay optimized. So that's something you want to consider if you're going to be switching your vendors or the business that you're for the redesign or working with for the redesign. I would start there.
Yeah, I got involved with a company that they have a super person who's working on the website who helped build it, went through a little bit of a redesign, and we were addressing some of the more hyper intensive locality stuff that they needed to focus on. And the first thing that this person did was take a pretty established website in an established location that happened to be the northern equivalent. I'm not going to say which one it is, but it would be like saying Atlanta, and then there's a North Atlanta city where they live. Well, they decided to change up all the Atlanta traffic pages and add in north to the URL.
Oh, yeah.
And it was something literally like that all of their incoming traffic into that fictional Atlanta page. But it was little things like that can be so detrimental to traffic sources that people don't think through. And this person's highly accomplished, but I love your point because I run into this all the time. I've learned a lot, but I also know I have a lot to learn. I worry when they sometimes think that the social media person that they hired or the content marketing person they hired has a clue about what's going on in Google Analytics or automatically knows what's going on in TV advertising. They don't. It's such a wide swath. And although you do need to have a background in it, you don't have to be the cost of the mistakes can far outweigh sometimes the cost of what you think may be the savings when hiring the wrong kind of consultant.
Right. Yes, I agree. And then just if you're considering switching your vendors, I would also just pay attention to some things you may need to know up front. What their process is, what the deliverables will be. And this is a big one too, which I feel like you'll also understand. I find clients who are switching, maybe they're switching to me, they're coming to me for support. They don't have access to any of their accounts. So
all of the time. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. That's something you should have. You should either own it or you should know upfront when you're working with the vendor, like who maintains access to my accounts, like who maintains ownership. Like I've had issues where, let's say a client comes to me and they've had an established website for over 20 years and they decide they want to switch, and their previous developer, either they cannot find them or won't release the domain. So, then we're forced into the type of redesign where you can't really maintain the organic traffic or the authority that your previous website had because you're forced to switch your domain, change your URLs. So yeah, making sure you have access to all of your accounts is really important.
Such a great point. It's upsetting to even bring it up. It's so true. I'm specifically working with one company now who has worked with an agency. It's a solid agency, but they don't have the keys to the car. They own the car. They know they own the car. But I got on a conversation. I'm basically functioning on their behalf as someone who's telling this agency, give my client the keys.
Yeah.
They're pushing back. Oh, it's tied to our backend systems. Okay, it is. That's fine and all, but they still own it. And you don't want to become so dependent or codependent on that agency or vendor or whoever it is that you can't make even the basic changes yourself. We met at a professional speaking event. I know a lot of speakers are that way as well, because most of those people are not web designers or in any way. And so they've hired it off to someone, but that can be quite scary. So another switching question. What about, we're seeing a lot of movement. It sort of feels like the old days when the internet came up, but there's so many people who are competing There's so many people right now that I'm talking to who are also switching platforms. Not
Yeah,
everybody's WordPress, not everybody's Wix, not
right.
everybody's Squarespace. Squarespace has been running a bunch of Super Bowl ads. They're very enticing and their SEO's gotten 1,000 times better. But when you make a change from WordSpace to WordPress to, they're starting to combine them, WordPress to Squarespace or Squarespace to Wix or
Mhm.
whatever it is, there's some to-dos and to-don'ts there. So what do you think of when helping redesign, relaunch, or change or whatever a site going from one hosting platform to another?
Well, what first comes to mind for that is just the fact that some content management systems aren't going to have a one-to-one migration option.
Great point.
So if you need to either back up anything, or even if it gets down to I have to manually copy this content and put it in my Google Drive. So, I still can maintain access to the old content, because sometimes, once you switch domains and you cancel that Wix account, you don't have access after, afterwards. So that's one thing. You want to maintain access to your content if at all you can, whether that's manually doing it. If you're switching from WordPress, it's likely your developer or IT company can just, get a backup for you so that you can maintain access to that, but in your drive somewhere just in case you need it. Also, something to consider is the tools that sometimes they're or add-ons for WordPress, for example, that you're using to help with SEO. So let's say Yoast or Rank Math, where in those plugins, the plugin is storing your titles or your meta descriptions or schema, different things you've added that are either on page or technical SEO. Um, but if you're just pulling content from the website, another website, you may not know all that's happening on the back end. So having a developer that understands the platform you're coming from and the platform you're moving to can be very, very helpful and advantageous for you. Some of the developers or even SEO professionals are going to have expertise in one CMS system over another. Some of that I feel like just comes from the speed of change with content management systems now. If I'm working in WordPress every day over Squarespace, I may miss, an update they've made to some of their tools. But if you're connected with a service provider that, really wants to stay in the know about the work that they're doing, they're going to have a good understanding baseline of the tools to help you migrate them well. So I think that's the biggest thing, just a basic understanding of it's not always a one-to-one migration. Like there may be some little loopholes you have to jump through to get your site working on the other content management system.
Well, I would be remiss without, because we needed one more show to talk about Chat GPT. But with the speed of everything moving forward, are you thinking much about how Chat GPT plays into SEO?
Yes, yes, I am. But first, let me say it's not a worry of mine. I feel like
Yeah.
our
Do you need to
industry.
declare yourself an expert in it like everybody
Oh
else
yeah.
has?
Well, everyone's an expert in ChatGPT.
Exactly. And with the right SEO, you can make yourself an expert tomorrow.
Yeah. Um, just I feel like our industry shifts and changes so often. Like even the fact that, when I was in school looking for, what I wanted to major in or what, industry I was interested in, SEO wasn't even on my radar. It's just that over time, things change, they adapt, you learn new things, more resources become available that can be leveraged to improve things. So that's really how I approach Chat GPT. Could my job be obsolete next year? Of course, but we've seen over the past years, changes impossible to avoid and it could happen tomorrow. So I don't really think it's anything anyone should be worried about, but just more aware. And then also consider how it can be a tool for you to grow your business or, just any way that you can use it. Um, I think it's an amazing tool. The fact that we even have access to it, I was a child that watched the Jetsons. So I'm wondering, are we going to be on Mars tomorrow? Now that we have ChatGPT, that's the next step, right? But I do think there are probably going to be coming up with SEO, and I don't know what side of it we're going to be on. Like, will AI copy be stronger than the search engines that can determine how it was written? Like, whose algorithm is going to win? I think we'll just have to see, but I think it's an exciting time that these tools are even available for us to use or leverage.
Agree. I have two really quick, important questions to ask you before we get to the close. Why did
Okay.
Tiger Woods start studying SEO?
Oh gosh, I don't know why.
To get his number one ranking back.
Good
It's
one.
SEO dad jokes. All right. Why did the SEO expert cross the road?
I don't know why.
To get hit with more traffic.
Ah,
Sorry. I know these are dumb, but it
that's a
works
good
in this
one.
context. So
I'm gonna use that one.
you can use that one. Yeah.
Okay.
It'll work really well at Moz or, any of those. So Shay, I ask everybody who appears on the show, what
Mhm.
is your favorite kind of shark and why?
Ooh,
Any Virginia Beach?
oh
You're in
God.
coastal community.
No, I mostly see dolphins here. But I
Okay.
think I've always liked the hammerhead, but I think it's only because it's shaped so differently. And I mean,
Dolphins are the real evil ones. They're nasty. They just get a cute name because they're horrible. They're horrible. And Flipper screwed everything up just like Jaws did,
oh God.
made people think the wrong thing about them. All right. Well, Shay, it's a special time in the show. Are you ready for the 5 most interesting and important questions that you're going to be asked today?
Okay, I think I am. Let's do it.
Okay. These will make a lot of no sense whatsoever. All right. Number one, and I didn't want to go WordPress because it's too easy, but I'm going to say this: Wix or Squarespace?
Squarespace.
Why so?
Oh my gosh. So are we allowed to talk about brands and how bad they are on here?
Sure.
Well, okay. Just I've had issues with Wix, like getting clients' blog posts to get indexed because of the JavaScript they use to load their content.
Squarespace isn't perfect, but it has gotten so much better
Oh yeah,
in the
it's
last couple of years. It's bananas better. If they could just get the history thing down like WordPress has, it would sure go a long way. So, number 2, Google or Bing?
Google.
Now, I'm going to say Google with Bard or Bing with Chat GPT.
Oh gosh. I don't know
Changes
yet.
that one, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, can you give me a couple of months? Come
Okay,
back
here
in.
you go. You'll scream Yahoo. All right.
Yeah.
We talked about switching a lot. We're going to talk about switch hitters. You don't have to be a big baseball fan to know
Oh
these.
God.
Pete Rose or Mickey Mantle?
Mickey Mantle.
There you go. It's hard to go wrong with the Mick. Plus, he was never, all he did was drink and smoke. He never gambled on games that we know of. All
Oh,
right,
okay.
number
Good man.
4. If you were taking somebody on a historic trip through Virginia,
Um,
would you take them to like the Shenandoah Mountains or to Monticello or to the museum, many of the museums there? What would be your pick?
I would start with where I grew up, in the Buckrow area and Fort area where the first slaves were brought to Virginia in the area where I live.
Virginia has so much amazing history.
Yeah.
You can experience the whole Civil War right with the confines there.
Yeah, and you're always close to water, so it's nice.
There you go. And politicians. Number 5, well, I know, throw them in the water. Number 5, and the most important question that you're going to be asked today. It's not a good SEO question, but it's biscuits or cornbread.
Cornbread.
You said that like
Uh,
you're not sure or feel
I
guilty
have to
about
know.
saying
I have
it,
to
or
know who. I do. I have to know who made it. Like,
Okay.
did grandma make it?
Grandma's got a job at Cracker Barrel and she's making biscuits and
I
cornbread.
may need grandma's biscuits though over cornbread. That's
Okay. Well, Shay, where can people find out more about you, learn about what your company offers, what you're doing, and keep up with your thought leadership and more?
sure. So you can find me online at my website. That's rankliftdigital.com. Or I'm also on various social networks when I'm not with my two little kids and also working for clients and my family, my husband, my mom. That's when I'm on social. So you can find me there. Those are also Rank Lift Digital on, all of them.
Awesome. Shay, thank you very much for being with us today on A Shark's Perspective.
Thank you so much.
So there was my conversation with Shay Langley, the founder of RankLift and a full-stack digital marketer experienced in helping brands, both big and small, utilize their website to grow their business. Let's take a look at 3 key takeaways from our conversation with her. First, we talked about switching SEO platforms. Great point Shay made. In particular, not all of them always have a one-to-one relationship, so make sure that you have your content somewhere backed up in some CMS. It can be a Google Doc for all I care. Simple rule, but very necessary to remember. Also, not all the tools can be transferred. Again, a simple but necessary thing to remember. Second, whether you're switching agencies or employees or consultants with SEO, remember that not all digital marketers are created alike. Makes sense until you hire one that doesn't have a lot of SEO experience. Maybe they're great at social or content or copy or advertising, but they do something that they think is small to a website, even as simple as changing a URL, and then there goes all your web traffic to highly trafficked page or pages. Unless you're pouring ad dollars to the new pages, redirecting 404s with laser precision, or you want to hold your breath and wait for Google to crawl it again. Then you realize that strong SEO knowledge is needed and different from other forms of digital marketing. So don't do that. Your website is one of your biggest and most important properties. If you're hiring someone to make changes to it, then make certain that they know SEO to a level that makes you money, not loses you money and traffic and so much more. And this comment was brought to you by the letter O, which is for optimization. Third, just ran through this multiple times in the last few weeks. It may sound silly to some, but it's more common than you would think and dangerous for a brand. Shay brought it up, but you, the brand, must own and possess the keys to all your assets and your properties, not just the agencies with whom you work, even if they are great and trustworthy. You should be the super admin to your own Google Analytics, for example, and not your agency. It just puts you and the agency in an awkward position when you have to ask for it back. Saw this recently multiple times. The agencies become paranoid when you ask, put you in an odd relationship, and that's not worth anyone's time. Take the time to audit and inventory your properties and your tools and those relationships. Many may be owned for proprietary reasons by an agency, but many are the brands, especially when you realize that it's your data, or more accurately, the data from your customers. So take care with that. Got a question? Send me an email to kenneth@asharksperspective.com. Thank you again for the privilege of your time, and I am so thankful to everyone who listens. Today is about optimization. So it's time to optimize your website, your content, your business, and most importantly, your life. So join us on the next episode of A Shark's Perspective.